Yo, what's up? Today I'm sitting in the Kona. I gave the DACIA Spring back, but I still have a lot of footage, a lot of tests that I've done when I had the car. And this is going to be a video of some of the tests, some of the things that I found during the time that I had the car, about 2 weeks. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting video. We're going to talk about the battery capacity itself, how I measured it, and the actual number. We're going to talk about warranty. We're going to talk about the manufacturer and some other interesting details I found during the process of trying to find all the details about this battery and the manufacturer. So if you didn't see my last video about the DACIA Spring, then I would definitely recommend you check it out. I'll leave a link in the description, but basically I drove the car on 0% until the car completely stopped, completely died. And I managed to drive 40 kilometers on 0%, which was a result I didn't even expect. It was a really good result. And after the car basically shut down, I had to push the car to the charging station. I did that and I charged the car until 100%. And I recorded the process and I recorded some details about the process and some data. And I'm going to share that with you today and some other interesting stuff I found about the warranty. But yeah, let's get started. Okay, so if you look under the car, on the back side, under the back seats, basically somewhere around there, but you can look from the exterior, you will see a sticker. On the sticker it says it's a battery made by Sunvoda for Dacia or for Renault, however you want to look at it. So Sunvoda is quite a large battery manufacturer in China. They make lots of batteries for different companies. They actually used to make batteries for the iPhones just a few years ago. So yeah, it's a Chinese brand, but it's not that bad, I guess. After I've received a bunch of pictures from you guys with the sticker of the battery, I realized that there's a part number difference between the cars that are for customers and the cars for ride sharing, the blue cars versus the orange ones. So I actually Googled both part numbers and I didn't really find too much information for the passenger cars, for the orange cars, but I did find a few bits of information for the blue cars, for the ride-sharing cars, and it looks like that you can actually order the battery for the ride-sharing cars on some website. It states that it's 8,500 euros. Now this is obviously the selling price to the customer or something like that, so it's quite high, almost 50% of the car, which makes sense in a way because batteries are expensive and the car itself is, it's not very expensive. So the price of the car comes from the battery mainly, the electronics, and then a lot of the safety features are very expensive to implement, and then the car itself is not that expensive. So yeah, I found out that the price is about 8,000 euros, 8,500 euros. Now, I'm not sure why there are two versions of the batteries. Maybe the ride-sharing version is a little bit better in some way, or it's unlocked in some way so that the ride-sharing companies can use it more, or maybe they have different warranty terms. So it's interesting to see that the ride-sharing have a different part number. However, they still have the same specs, same weight, same kilowatt hours, same charging speed, and so on. So I guess it's just a BMS change. It's something done on the brain of the battery. So the cells themselves, I would say, are the same. Now, we won't know this for sure until we get two batteries opened and check them, or probably more simple would be to just find the data sheets for both part numbers, but I couldn't find it, unfortunately. But it's good to know that there are two different versions. However, like I said, they're quite similar, if not identical, really. Now, it looks like this European version of the car is getting batteries from Sunvoda, but the Chinese version of the car, which is called the Renault KZE, is shipped with a different battery. It looks like it's produced by Lishan, but they seem to have the same part numbers and definitely the same size, so I'm not sure what's going on there. I have tried to look up Lishan and Sunvoda, but I couldn't find any connection in between the two companies, so it looks like it's just the same battery but made by different companies, something like that. So the battery itself does not have any liquid cooling, any liquid heating, so does not have any heat management system. Unfortunately, it's quite common, to be honest, on a cheap electric car not to have any battery heat management system. I mean, to this date, the Nissan Leaf does not have a battery management system, a battery heat management system, unfortunately. So yeah, we don't have that on the Dacia Spring, but the battery is quite small. The car is intended for city use, so you don't really need that much of a management system. The battery itself is made out of 12 modules, 72 cells, and the nominal voltage on Dacia's documents at least is 240 volt, but if you look on the sticker on the battery that's on the car, it actually says 262 volts. So yeah, interesting to see that difference. The weight of the battery is about 186 kilograms plus minus, and I also found these readouts of the battery cell voltages and the nominal pack voltage and everything, but I don't know if they're 100% accurate, so yeah, take this with a grain of salt. Unfortunately, if you connect like an OBD Bluetooth adapter to the Dacia Spring, you will not get detailed information such as you get from the Nissan Leaf Spy app and some other apps. Basically, Kanze app is also giving you individual cell temperatures and individual cell voltages. Unfortunately, you cannot do that with the Dacia Spring, not yet. If somebody can program something like that, that would be amazing. But until then, you can use actually the Renault Kanze app with an ordinary Bluetooth OBD2 adapter, and you will get some data, but not a lot. You can get like charging speed, charging power basically. You can get stuff like charging history, battery temperature, which I don't know exactly if it's just one cell, if it's making an average. So yeah, take that with a grain of salt. So with the technical details out of the way, let's talk about the battery size. Early publications actually said that the car will ship with a battery of 26.8 kilowatt hours. Now, nowadays, let's say about 6 or 7 months ago, I'm not sure when, maybe even more, Dacia actually started to advertise the car as having a 27.4 kilowatt hour battery. Now the difference, you know, it's not that big, 2%, not that big of a difference, but it is interesting to see that basically a lot of documentation from back then says 26.8 kilowatt hours, but on new documentations and on the new websites, they all state 27.4 kilowatt hours. Even today, if you go onto their website and just look around on the Dacia Spring page and just start to search for some things, you will see here, let me just see if I can find it. Yeah, 27.4 kilowatt hours. But if you go and download a brochure and go to the technical details of the car, basically, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, you can see here it's 26.8 kilowatt hours. So it's interesting to see that difference. While looking for these details, I have found at least 10 documents, official Dacia documents with the old value 26.8 kilowatt hours, and another 10 documents with the new value 27.4 kilowatt hours. I have saved all the files. I will put them in a Google Drive or something so you can download it. Maybe the old ones will disappear. Maybe, I don't know what's going on, but it will be interesting to see what will happen in a few years, or maybe even sooner than that, when they actually decide the actual capacity of the battery, because it will impact the warranty. But we will get back to the warranty just in a bit. So yeah, 27.4 kilowatt hours basically, because that's what you can read on the Dacia site right now. But before it was 26.8. Now, interestingly, if you look under the car on that sticker I showed you, all of the stickers say 26.8 kilowatt hours. Now I know this because I actually asked a bunch of guys on the Dacia forum in Romania to send me pictures, and thank you guys for sending me the pictures. I got lots and lots of pictures and I managed to check them, and basically all of them say 26.8 kilowatt hours. Now I had a theory, even though it's highly unlikely, that Dacia would change the battery capacity to a larger battery just like that in like a month before deliveries or something, because we had the test cars and all of them had 26.8 kilowatt hours batteries. I have some footage back from August when I drove the car 700 kilometers across the country, and I have some footage of that car and it's the same sticker, so they did not change anything. but I just had a theory that maybe if they changed it on the website, they changed it on the car itself. But I got a lot of pictures and all of them say 26.8 kilowatt hours. So it's very interesting to see that even though the manufacturer of the battery says it's a battery of 26.8 kilowatt hours, Dacia is claiming it's 27.4. I think that's a good thing, and I'll tell you why. It means that Dacia or Renault, or whatever you want to call it, they made some tests and they are confident that the battery is good quality, and they are confident that the battery will maintain its, let's say, life cycle in the warranty period. So they just unlocked maybe a little bit more so the people have better range and the people can enjoy more of their cars. And probably that's why Dacia Renault increased the capacity on their webpage and probably on the software of the car as well, unlocking a little bit more, about 2% more of the battery for the end user to use. And yeah, I think that's a good thing. I think that's a sign that Renault or Dacia is confident in this battery, that it will last a long time, even unlocking more of its capacity to the end user. Now, the actual battery size is a lot bigger. We will see that just in a moment. But first, I want to talk about a negative thing, let's say, about warranty. Now, I really didn't like this part because I was researching about the battery and I realized if you go onto the Dacia website, there's not much, if any, details about the warranty. I think there should be a lot more details about the warranty. What is Dacia hiding? What is Renault hiding about the warranty? In some publications, if you go onto their Dacia Renault Group publications, they do say that you get 3 years or 100,000 kilometers for all parts, and you get 8 years and 120,000 kilometers for the battery, which is good. 8 years is the industry standard. I don't think anyone is offering more than 8 years for the battery. Now, 120,000 kilometers it's decent. It's better than 100,000, let's say, that BMW was offering on the i3 just years ago. So it's probably because the battery does not have any battery management, heat management system. So it will degrade over the time. And a lot of people who buy these maybe don't know how to charge correctly the battery in order to extend the battery life. So yeah, 120,000 kilometers, I think it's a decent amount, especially for a city car. You're only doing 20, 30, 50 kilometers a day. You're not doing long distances. So I think yeah, maybe even the 8 years is going to expire quicker than the 120,000 kilometers. But what I don't see anywhere, and I did not find this information anywhere, and you can look for it, you cannot find it almost anywhere, not on the Renault media page, not on the Dacia website, not on the brochures, not even in the Dacia user manual. You cannot find this, and that's actually how much of the battery is warranted during this period. So, you know, usually manufacturers say that you get 8 years or 100,000 or whatever kilometers for the battery to retain at least, let's say, 80% of the value of the capacity. So even if you are 7 years into your car and you're not getting 100% of your battery, they can still say, yes, but it's more than 80%, so we cannot change it under warranty. If it falls below 80%, then yes, and you are in between the period and the kilometers, then yes, we can change your battery within warranty. Now, you cannot actually find this information anywhere. I looked everywhere. I only found it in a really old document. Let me just see if I can find that document somewhere. I only found it in a document from March 2021 on a dealer website. So it's a local dealer somewhere here in Romania, and they were just saying things about the car, you know, pre-orders, blah, 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 and stuff like that. And they were saying here that you can get the 8 years and 120,000 kilometers for the battery and the capacity of 75%. So they're warranting 75%. Now, 75% is not that good. It's not that bad. What's worrying to me is that you cannot find this information anywhere. I could not find it, at least, anywhere on the official websites. Not on Dacia Romania, not on Dacia France, not on the Renault website, the media website, nowhere. You just cannot find this information. And that's, I mean, that's not great. From a transparency point of view, that is not great. I hope I'm wrong and they will not change this, and this information is not missing just because they are trying to avoid references to it in the future and something like that. So transparency regarding the warranty is not great. Also, just generally, even in the manual of the car, you cannot find anything about the warranty, so that's not great. So now let's see the charging process and the actual battery size. So like I said, I drove the car until it died. Then I pushed it to the charging station and started charging. Right at the beginning, we were charging for almost 10 minutes and the car took about 2.5 kilowatt hours and it was still showing 0%. So the battery was at 8 degrees. Outside there were like 0 degrees, and the battery didn't manage to warm up in the 2 or 3 hours that the test actually took, because I wasn't really pulling that much power out of the battery. So at the beginning it was charging with about 16 kilowatts, and then in about, I don't know, 30 minutes, 25 minutes, until it reached 30% or 25%. Then it started to charge with 30 kilowatts, and then after a while it started to decrease again to 25 and so on. Now, I have done lots of tests during the winter and the car is very, very slow in the winter. It can charge as slowly as 7 kilowatts on DC charging if the battery is cold. I've recorded several charging sessions where the car was plugged in for over an hour and it only took 7 or something like that kilowatt hours, which is very, very slow. I actually think that it's too slow, to be honest, and the car is cold gating extremely in winter conditions. So DC charging, not a good idea in winter conditions. But yeah, let's see the table that I prepared to show you guys. So this column is, yeah, the kilowatt hours according to Dacia. When the car is 100% charged, then it should be having 27.4 kilowatt hours, and then when it's 0%, you should theoretically be having 0%, at least according to Dacia. Now, what I measured is basically, this was when I discharged the car completely, and on 0%, just before it started to show 1%, it had already charged 2.5 kilowatt hours. Now, when it was at 10%, the car had already taken up 6.14 kilowatt hours. Now you can see here that there's a big difference, about 9 or 12% difference. But as you can see, as the car reached the top of the battery, the 100% mark, the difference became smaller and smaller, because the BMS was calculating and showing the percentage on the display of the car was showing correctly, or at least what they think is correct, the percentage of the battery. Now, after the car had reached 100%, it still continued to pull power for about 10 or 15 minutes, something like that. And actually, it managed to pull 29.21 kilowatt hours. Now, I actually think that there was still a little bit of energy left in the battery when it was completely dead, when I had to push the car. So it would still have had like 0.5 kilowatt hours. So the actual battery size, I think, is very close to 30 kilowatt hours. Now, I know because I'm looking at the screen on the charging station that there is some kind of loss, but usually it's less than 5%. Usually it's just 1 or 2% basically. So the actual battery size is somewhere between 29 and 30 kilowatt hours, which is quite a big battery. Now, the user usually is left with about 27.4 kilowatt hours, like we discussed. Now, the top buffer and the bottom buffer are used over the years, unlocked over the years, in order to maintain the same driving distance and the same charging capacity and everything like that, so that you won't go to Dacia to say, well, this car is well, I cannot do any kilometers with it because the battery is not performing well. The car will automatically use up the space from the top and the bottom buffer, and eventually it will start to decrease, even to the point that you are not seeing 27.4 kilowatt hours. Maybe a full charge will only take 25 kilowatt hours or 23 kilowatt hours or something like that. So you will get to that point, but like I said, I think it will take at least 150, 200,000 kilometers to get to that point, just because the top buffer and the bottom buffer are so big. So if you add up the two buffers, 6.6 and 9.1%, that's 15%. So you're degrading the battery 15%. So that's why I said I don't think anyone will be changing their batteries under warranty, because to get to that 75% degradation, you have to actually use use up this 6.6 and 9.1, which is about 15%, and the other 25% to get to 75%, which is basically a 40% degradation. And the 40% degradation is very hard to achieve if you're paying attention a little bit to how you're charging, not charging every day to absolute 100%, not discharging the car below 3%, below 0% and stuff like that every week. So if you're taking good care of your car and the battery, then yeah, you'll be having a very good time even after 150 to 200,000 kilometers, like I said. So yeah, this was everything I wanted to share with you today. This was a recap of all the things that I've managed to learn about the battery over the past few weeks. So I hope you managed to find some interesting things in this video. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, feel free to comment on this video. Feel free to share it. Press the like button if you like it. And let me know if you're interested to see in some other videos in the future. But yeah, this is the video about the DACIA Spring battery, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.